this might be an easier fight for Merab this time than it was for the first fight. But hey, it's your boy DHP, and y'all know the rest, man. And this is my official UFC 323 preview show. As y'all can see, it's snowing outside. First snow day of the new winter season. And no other way to do a preview show than in the snow, right? But check this out. Merab, Patreon, the rematch. First off, to get this out of the way early, now we got one more fight card to go. We got the Brandon Royval and the Manel Cap fight night card, and then that's it for the 2025 calendar year of the UFC. But as far as pay-per-view wise, now I'm gonna go through the whole main card before we get deep into the analysis. This is a banger of a pay-per-view card to end the year. I remember going back to years prior in the UFC, we literally had, there's been a couple years where we had like a pay-per-view, just the way how everything fell into place with the calendar. There was some years where we had a pay-per-view to end the year off literally on the last week of December. I remember, I believe, one of the pay-per-views that definitely sticked out to me was because that's when I ended up leaving to go on vacation, you know, to spend time with my mother for that whole winter. Cyborg and Holly Holm, I believe, they fought in that pay-per-view card. They had that pay-per-view card on December the 31st. So, shit like that, we you know, to think about it, we had cards or pay-per-view cards to end the year off literally on the last week of December, if not like towards the middle of December or even like the last 2 weeks. But regardless, this pay-per-view card, the last card of the last pay-per-view card, excuse me, of the year, this is a banger card. So we got Merab and Patreon, the main event. Merab defending his belt in a rematch against Patreon. We got Pantoja defending his flyweight belt against Joshua Van. We got Brandon Moreno fighting Tatsudo Tada. We got Triple C, aka I said aka like Triple C is his real name. Henry Cejudo fighting Peyton Talbot. And to open up the main card is Jan Blachowicz and Bogdan Guskov. So, let me take a sip of my sweet tea. The main event of the evening, Merab and Patreon, boy. Like I said at the top of the video, this fight, it might go easier for Merab than the first time around. And honestly, I can piggyback to the Sugar Sean rematch. Merab ain't really played no games with Sugar Sean. And even in that fight, and I took notice of it, and I said it on camera. Sugar Sean actually did really well as far as standing. He did way better standing up with Merab than he did in the first fight. But Merab, he just showed niggas like he just a level above. Like anything that you can do, I can do better type shit. And surprisingly, he got the finish on Sean. Now, could he get the finish on Patreon? I don't know about that, because Merab, here's the thing about Merab. Merab is he is a dominant fighter, but he's not the dominant fighter who will he's not the dominant fighter who will maul you and then get the finish, like Khabib. Like, Khabib beat niggas down so damn bad where he would destroy you and then he'll get you the fuck on out of here. Merab ain't like that. If the finish is there, Merab is going to look for it, but Merab is looking just to demoralize you. So really, Merab is high-key a dominant decision fighter. So him getting the finish on Patreon, if he get the finish on Patreon, it's going to be by submission. That's the only way Merab can finish Patreon. Because first off, Patreon is durable. I can't even remember the last time Patreon, I don't even think Patreon ever got finished in the UFC. I don't believe. Even with Even with the Sugar Sean fight, and Sugar Sean has a high finishing rate, Sugar Sean couldn't finish Patreon. And then the first fight, excuse me, the first fight, Merab didn't even finish Patreon. He took Patreon to a dominating decision just by spamming the takedowns and shit. Now, excuse me. Now, the keys to the victory for Patreon, and I alluded to it during the video I made like a couple days ago for Patreon or whatever. I think it was during the countdown or whatever. I forgot. It's real simple. It is real simple for Patreon. It is that he's going to have to either A, defend the takedowns and force Merab to stand up, because we all know with Patreon is like a Nate Diaz. Patreon, he takes forever to get going, and once he get going, he don't stop, right? It's like he takes the first round to, you know, download data, see what you like to throw and shit like that, and then he pick it up from there. You know, as it's basically Nate Diaz. Even though Nate Diaz is a different case because he warms, because they both warm up as the fight go longer, but Patreon is more methodical. Like, he's seeing how you throw, what's your rhythm, what's your pattern. If you throw like a 1-2, like Robert Whitaker. Like, Robert Whitaker loves the 1-2 head kick, you know. Patreon is looking for something like that. Nate Diaz, even though this is irrelevant, Nate Diaz, he just a slow starter in general. Like, it's gonna take him like a round or two to get to where he needs to be. But Patreon, in the sense of Merab, a nigga like Merab, that will be used heavily against Patreon, because Merab, from the jump, Merab is on your ass. He is on your ass from the jump. So Patreon has to start fast. Now, he needs A, defend the takedowns and force Merab to stand up, and he's gonna have to use a lot of body work. One thing you gotta do, which I don't see a lot of niggas do with Merab, and it's so simple and easy, because how Merab bounce around, and I mentioned this in videos before, like months ago, Merab's footwork is actually underrated. I feel like people don't talk about Merab's footwork enough. To me, that's the one thing I noticed about Merab. Oh, and by the way, Instagram, y'all know y'all gonna get the shortened version of this review. YouTube, y'all getting the full version of it. One thing that I've heavily tried to emphasize on Merab is his footwork. Yeah, he got good cardio and shit like that, but people don't realize Merab's footwork it's weird and unique, because it's not the best fluid footwork, but for him it works because he bounces around and he has the cardio to keep doing that shit. He's like an Energizer bunny. And it works for him because not only it helps him shoot for takedowns at different angles, but the way he strike. Because Merab striking is okay, but it's not a dynamic, unique striker of, let's just say, I'm trying to, on somebody on his level, if you look at somebody like Umar Nurmagomedov, Umar's striking is very unique and dynamic for the type of nigga that he is. Merab's boxing and kickboxing to Umar's is kind of it's like notches below, or even like going to the PFL with Usman, because we all seen the fights with Usman and Paul Hughes. Like, Usman has way better striking than Merab. So Merab's boxing is okay-ish, but he gets away with a lot of shit boxing-wise because of what? His footwork. And going back to my original point, I would like to see Patreon leg kick. He got to have like a kind of like a Jose Aldo type approach to this fight. He got to get Merab's legs underneath of him by kicking him to death. Got to do a lot of low kicks. Got to do a lot of calf kicks. And then he got to go to the body. And long way of saying it, a nigga like Merab, you have to do both. Either one or the other, or both. Go to the body, or you attack his legs. Because when you leg kick, and that was the game plan straight out of Volk and Max. What did Volk do that was so good against Max in those fights? Volk was leg kicking the shit out of Max, and Max was hindered. His mobility and, you know, his footwork was hindered, right? So Petrion has to go more of a Muay Thai kickboxing route as far as like slowing down Merab, if he was successful in like stuffing all his takedowns. Now, the other way Petrion can win this fight is he gonna have to wrestle. He's really gonna have to put on his singlet and wrestling boots on and wrestle. Now I know Petrion can wrestle. If he needs to, if he wants to, Petrion can grapple and wrestle. But that is not his main style. Like, he wants to stand up, pick you apart, and box you to death. Petrion is gonna have to do excuse me. He's gonna have to do what Merab did to Umar, or what Merab do to a lot of these niggas, including himself. He's gonna have to relentlessly, aggressively grapple back. That's the only two options. That's playing like him grappling and wrestling back. That's kind of like playing X, Y, Z, W, whatever. Because obviously, I mean, he can wrestle and grapple, but that's not his main style. So you kind of want to use a tactic of both. Like, use a strategy of both. In my personal observation and opinion, if you can stuff the takedowns, try to force him to stand up, but then catch him off guard, grappling and shit like that. Because if you really notice about Merab is really not good off. Somebody like Merab is not good off his back. Because Merab don't have, in my personal opinion, he don't have good jiu-jitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like, Merab is just one of those, he's like, and I know I mentioned this before, he's like a bantamweight version of Cain Velasquez. That's all he is for real. He don't have great BJJ or jiu-jitsu. So it would be different, say like, if Petrion, which is crazy because, you know, he fought Aljo, but on a different page, it would be like facing T-City. Like, we all know, or even Charlie Olives, and I always go back to those two because those two represent on what I'm talking about as far as like with some of these grapplers and wrestlers. Yeah, they can do a lot of damage on the ground when they're like in top position, but once they get on their back, you know, they like a fish out of water. But Charlie Olives and T-City is a representation of how they can both dominate on the top position and on the bottom position. Merab is not the type of nigga that he don't want to be on his back, you know. And it's not, you probably even never seen him on his back because he's so damn good and shit like that. So Petrion, for him to win this fight, he's gonna have to have a strategy of both. He's gonna have to try to put Merab on his back and then stuff the takedowns and put Merab on the back foot. Cause y'all know how this go in MMA. Like, with somebody like Merab, who's grappling, base, dominant, you always want to put them on the back foot. And it's easier said than done, but you always want to put them on the back foot because the more space that you box them in, it's going to be hard for them to do what they do best. And it's, you know, and even when they try to grapple, initiate the grappling, they shoot in, they don't have much space to work with. So when they do shoot in for a takedown, unless they like cams at speed, it's going to be so choreographed and you want to see it from a mile away. And combine that with what I just said with he has to go to the leg, he had to do a lot of low kicks and calf kicks. When your legs is fucking hurt, you don't want to move at all for real, unless you have adrenaline. So when they shoot in, the speed that they shooting in at is not gonna be that good. So you definitely gonna see it from a mile away. So, but overall, I just don't. I don't see how Petrion can win this fight. Honestly, Merab, he's gonna go ahead. I ain't gonna say he gonna finish Petrion because I don't see it. I don't see him. I see him dominating Petrion, and he said it at the press conference. Petrion gonna have to finish Merab because there is no way he can actually win on the judges' scorecard. So Petrion, if he was to win this fight, along with those strategies, he would have to finish Merab. You cannot, somebody like Merab, you cannot beat them on the judges' scorecard. Like, you will literally have to finish. You will literally have to finish Merab. That's the only way, because Merab is too damn good, and he has too much shit in his bag where there's no way you can win on the judges' scorecards. So even if you standing up, he can get you on significant strikes, and then obviously and then if you do beat him standing up, he can obviously go to the ground, and he's so damn lethal on the ground, he's gonna score damage points. And especially at the rate he can get you down to the ground, and he's relentless with it. He's automatically gonna get the average control time of like every round is like 5 minutes. On per average, he can get about 2.5 minutes of ground control with damage. Merab is not one of these niggas that lay and pray. Like, he'll get you to the ground, and he hold on to you for like 30-40 seconds before he even make or try to attempt one transition move. No, Merab, he does damage on the ground, and he transitions a lot because he's so energetic. He has the cardio for it. So even if you do, you box him up a little like Sugar Sean did in the second fight, because Sugar Sean did do way better standing up than the first fight. Merab is that damn good where it don't even matter, because he's going to get that ground control time and take back. Say like if you winning like the first half of the round, he's going to take back the other half and steal the round away. So like Merab said at the press conference last night, you definitely, most definitely have to finish him to win. So that's the only way I can see Petrion winning for real. Merab, he should win this with ease. He should win this with ease, to be quite honest. Now, I don't see him finishing Petrion, but he's going to finish in that. And I believe at the press conference they said he needs this win to tie Anderson Silva. He's going to do it. Merab is that damn good, and stylistically for Petrion, even though Petrion is a beast, stylistically Merab is going to be too much for him again. So yeah, that's what I got for Merab and Petrion. Merab, he got this. So on to the co-main event, Pantoja and Joshua Van. I've been saying it all week. Oh, we're stretching out a little bit. I've been saying it all week. Lord Jesus. This is one of these fights where I've been back and forth on it. Because Joshua Van has the potential to actually shock the world in this one. And I mentioned it during the one of my videos this week about Joshua Van. I think it was on the Joshua Van video I made. So basically, he's coming into this fight with no game plan at all, which is smart. It's kind of smart, but it's kind of not. But one thing I will say, I can see this fight either going one or two ways. Either Alexandre Pantoja gets caught up, because Pantoja is he's a wild brawling striker type. Like, Pantoja overall is a beast, but his striking is almost Carlos Condit like. So if you very technical and precise with your striking, especially your kickboxing, you can actually piece up Pantoja. Joshua Van boxing is too nice to where Pantoja can really get caught up. He can really get caught up and get countered. So this fight, to me, between Pantoja and Joshua Van, it could go one of two ways. Either Pantoja, he's gonna do like he's done the past couple fights, where he's automatically gonna take the fights to the ground and test to see if Joshua Van can work off his back, if he got good takedown defense, or Pantoja is gonna say fuck it and try to stand up and try to overwhelm Joshua Van. He gonna get caught. And I've been back and forth with both times. I've been flip-flopping back and forth. I had Pantoja winning both times. Both scenarios I've been thinking I do got Pantoja winning, but it's more like a 50-45 to me, because stylistically wise, Joshua Van, even though he's speed running the fuck out of this division right now, almost like an Alex Pereira type situation, stylistically this low-key favors Joshua Van more than like anybody else, which I'm kind of interested to see how Joshua Van stack up against everybody else. Because, like, for example, I don't want to go too off the deep end, but for example, if we swap like opponents, right? Say like if Joshua Van fought Brandon Moreno to me would be a much more tougher fight for Joshua Van, because he can do the same shit Pantoja do, but Brandon Moreno is more methodically technical about his striking. So when you have more of a slow pace, like Brandon Moreno, if he wants to, he can definitely turn up his boxing on you, but he's more methodical and technical. Pantoja is not really all that technical. He's like a less technical version of Max Holloway. Like, he overwhelms you with his speed and at the pace he goes. He's an overwhelming striker. So in that case, with somebody like Joshua Van, you really pay attention to Joshua Van. He's methodical and technical. So he might well just piece up Pantoja if they stand up, which I think Pantoja's going to find out early on, and then he's going to try to take the fight to the ground. Now, that's where I'm interested to see how Joshua Van interacts with the grappling and the wrestling. Because really, you know, he really hasn't faced anybody of that nature just yet. Pantoja's the first taste of it. So, but at the same time, if he can, you know, if he can stuff like the takedowns and shit like that, I can see Joshua Van shocking the world, and I've been saying it. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if he wins, which is why I made the video that I made about Joshua Van on my other platform. But stylistically wise, I'm giving Joshua Van much more of a chance than, let's just say, if he fought like Brandon Moreno. Like somebody like Brandon Moreno, like I said, I need to see more of what he got. But then, and this is one of these, which is crazy because I made a video about Pantoja too. But this is low-key another trap fight from Pantoja, just because, first off, you really don't got a lot of data on Joshua Van. And second of all, striking wise, it's low-key a mismatch. But I got Pantoja winning just because the only thing I can say about Pantoja is the ground game. Like, bar none, it's top notch. He has the best ground game, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He has the best groundwork in the division. So I do feel like Pantoja will get this fight to the ground. I don't know if he can submit Joshua Van, but you may never know. But I got Pantoja winning, but it's not concrete. It is not concrete at all. But this between this fight, and I said it too, this fight and then the fight before with Brandon Moreno and Tatsudo Tara, flyweight might be the best. Flyweight might have like either the best fight of the card or the best 2 fights of the card. It potentially might, because they coming with it. And segue into that with Brandon Moreno and Tatsudo Tara, another interesting matchup at flyweight. More than likely, this fight right here is facing the winner of Pantoja and Joshua Van. Ain't got no choice, because I don't think Brandon Royval, especially for Brandon Royval, because Brandon Royval slid back in the rankings. Now, we'll get to that next week, because I do feel like if Manel Cap wins, he put his name right back in the conversation. Especially because of his, you know how the UFC is nowadays with like the social media presence and the fan base and the hype. Manel Cap got some presence in that flyweight division. So we'll get there next week when it's time. But for right now, I'm sticking with Brandon Moreno and Tatsudo Tara, as whoever wins this fight is next for Pantoja or Joshua Van, whoever wins the title fight. Now, with this fight in particular, man, oh man. You talking about Pantoja and Joshua Van, for me, 50-45. I think this fight is like 50-50. Because the way I look at it, I do feel like this is Brandon Moreno facing a younger self, his younger self. I do feel like this is Brandon Moreno fighting. He's fighting like a Japanese version of his younger self. I'm going to go with striking for striking. I think Brandon is more technical than Tatsudo Tara when it comes to inside boxing and boxing at a range. But power, Tatsudo Tara. But Brandon Moreno is still durable. Now, ground game, you can say Brandon Moreno, but it's like even to me. Now, jiu-jitsu wise and Brazilian jiu-jitsu wise, that's going to Tatsudo Tara. The way I can see this fight going, I can see it just like, dare I say, it might just go the same way the Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno fights been going down. So this is a very interesting matchup. For video purposes, I'm gonna go with Tatsudo Tara, because I do feel like he has the power advantage. So if he catch Brandon Moreno in the pocket exchanging, he might crack Brandon Moreno. Like, he might get him down and might submit him. That's why I don't think he's gonna finish him like on a knockout or TKO. I feel like he's gonna catch Brandon Moreno in the pocket exchanging. He's gonna get him to the ground and he's gonna submit him. But it could go either way. It can go either way. Or I can see Brandon Moreno, because he has the most experience. And Tatsudo Tara, he's still young enough where I still don't think, it's kind of like I say this about Joshua Van. If Joshua Van loses, it wouldn't hurt his stock, nor it would hurt his momentum to ever become. Because let's be honest, going back to Joshua Van for a minute, Joshua Van is 23 years old. Like, he has plenty of time, especially where he at ranking wise. He has plenty of time. Even if he loses against Pantoja, he has way more time to get back to a title shot than, let's just say, most would. Like Brandon Moreno, it's really now or never for Brandon Moreno, because where he at age wise and his career wise, plus he already had his run. So you add those three things together, he already had his run. Then, you know, where he at career-wise, plus his age, this is his last shot of even getting back to title relevancy. Unless he just moves up, right, to bantamweight. So, Joshua Van, him being 23, depending on, like, knock on wood, no major injuries, Joshua Van is going to be in the sport for another, like, 7 to 10 years. So Joshua Van loses his fight this weekend, tomorrow. Bro, this nigga got like so much time to get back, especially he's ranked number 1. He got so much time to get back to a title spot. And even if he bounced back in a major way, he can get back to a title shot at the age of like 25, which would be like a year, like 2 years from now. So, and Tatsudo Tara, he's the same way. Tatsudo Tara is young enough where he can low-key lose this fight and still be okay, because he's still, especially within the UFC, within the UFC pacing and style, he can actually learn something from Brandon Moreno, and he could bounce back as well. Like, let's not forget, same thing how we can say about the welterweight division and lightweight, we can say the same thing about flyweight. Because some of these young rising stars are starting to rise up. You know, Joshua Van, Tatsudo Tara, we got 2 of them. And then, you know, we're going to talk about another one at bantamweight with Henry Cejudo in a minute. Yeah, Tatsudo Tara, I can see this going either or. I can really see this go either or. Now, preferably, if for a selfish wise, I want Brandon Moreno to win, just so we can see him get one last shot at the title. But it's a classic case of like the most experienced veteran fighter versus the youth, you know. So we're gonna see where we go from here. But Henry Cejudo, Peyton Talbot, Triple C's last fight of his career. Let's clap it up for him. As you all know, with Triple C, he retired as double champ, and then he came back. And since he came back, he's been, I can't really say his ass, but it's been ass. Let's be honest. And I love Triple C. I fuck with Triple C, but he came back at the wrong time for real, because he's been facing like the new generation of the sport, and the shit that he was doing to niggas while he was double champ and dominating during his run, that's what the new generation is doing to him. So it's kind of like the sport passed him on, not by, you know, skill and technique and style, more so faster and stronger athletes. Triple C, he just can't keep up no more, because obviously it's like Dom Cruz. When Dom Cruz got older, and it's crazy because Dom Cruz, when he came back for like one last run, he ended up fighting Triple C. And and we all know how that happened. You know, I'm still kind of pissed about that fight, but it happens to the best. It happens to the best of them. You know, at one point in time, now there's certain cases where you do come back to the sport and the sport pass you up just because the style and pace of the fight has completely changed. But more cases than not, the new generation is basically just elevating your style. So really the style hasn't changed. It's more so these are just stronger and faster athletes. And that's just evolution 101. So Peyton, now one thing I will say about Peyton, if this was anybody else, Peyton might be in trouble, because I feel like Peyton got some holes in his game where he needs more development time. Which, honestly, this is a perfect fight for Peyton, because Triple C, because he can actually learn something, and they're best friends and shit like that. He actually learned something from Triple C, and honestly, Triple C wouldn't be that much of a threat to Peyton, because Triple C has declined in his athletic performance. But this is a perfect matchup for Peyton, just because of the shit that they both can do. But Peyton is just much faster. So striking wise, Triple C got him on a little edge, especially with his power. But I expect Peyton just to control Triple C on the ground, shit like that. Just something simple. Then we go to the opening fight with Jan Blachowicz and Bohdan Guskov. I ain't gonna hold you. I think Bohdan can actually get him out here in the first round. I honestly believe now. Jan Blachowicz, to his credit, the nigga is still dangerous now. Jan Blachowicz is still dangerous, but I feel like his time is up. His time is up. Now he's gonna get somebody that's faster than him. Bohdan could get Jan Blachowicz out here in the first round, if not the second round. So I got first round KO for Bohdan. Real quickly before I end the preview show, Grant Dawson is on this card. If we look at the prelims, Grant Dawson, Manuel Torres, Terrence McKinney, Chris Duncan, my girl Macy Barber, and Karine Silva, and Nazim's. I keep mispronouncing his last name, but Nazim and Faris Ziem is on this card too. Prelims is no slouch. Prelims is no slouch. And in the early prelims, you know, you got Marvin Vettori and Bruno Ferreira. Edson Barbosa is still fighting against Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner came back. So this is from top to bottom, early prelims to the top of the card to the main card. This is a banger of a last pay-per-view card for the year. Very interested in Grant Dawson, because Grant Dawson, as I mentioned before, could be a major player in lightweight. He's more like, to me, to be quite honest, Grant Dawson reminds me of, and Grant Dawson been in the UFC for a while, but I feel like he just now getting his big break as far as like getting the main spotlight and getting further into the rankings. Grant Dawson is like, the past couple years, and even now in the past couple years, Grant Dawson is like this generation of Sean Sherk. So Grant Dawson, I expect him to dominate. Now Manuel Torres ain't no slouch either. He ain't no slouch either. But I expect Grant Dawson just to dominate him. So but yeah, man, that concludes my preview show. As y'all see, it's still snowing and shit like that out here. But, yeah, man. We got one more night of sleep. And then, hey, it's fight night, y'all. But until my next video, which will be the review show, Saturday evening, Sunday morning, technically, because I'll be going out for the fights again. So, come back from the, watch the fights, come back home from the event, and then shoot the review show. So technically it'd be about like Sunday morning, like 2 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, until the review show, I'm gonna go ahead and skedaddle, man.